Hi friends, it's Terry here with Naked and Famous Denim. Welcome to another fabulous fade review. Today we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive, do some forensic denimology as we take a look, compare some unknown jeans and try to figure out their provenance, what type of person wore them, what type of jean were they wearing. So come with me as we examine these jeans. So we have over here a pair of blue jeans, a Naked and Famous here, but I don't know what they are. So if we look at our care tag over here, it's completely worn out. Like I have no clue. No clue. No notes on the pocket bags. No friendly thank yous from whoever sent these in. So we're kind of going in blind here. So I'm going to do my best to guess what they were. I kind of start with the, I like to start the big picture, the kind of the overall look over here. Try to guess the fit. And to me, this fit looks like a weird guy. So we have the regular pocket over here, the two rivets, no taper on the leg here. Kind of goes down from the thigh, tapers to the knee, and then from the knee straight down. I'm guessing weird guy. No stretch across, but a little bit of stretch on the up and down. So maybe 2% stretch, and the fabric feels a little bit lighter. I'm guessing 10-ish ounce around there. So that's my guess. And we'll see the rest of the details later. So that's the rough overview here of what these jeans are. If they are your jeans and you know what they are, let us know in the comments. Stand up and shout and say, hey, these are my jeans. I know exactly what they are. Here's their story. So let's get into the details and try to uncover some truths. I always start with the hardware over here. So take a look at these buttons here. The buttons are in great shape. Not too much wear on them, just the slightest little bit of kind of polishing over here on these corners. That's pretty cool. The rivets over here also in pretty good shape. This one right here on the coin pocket tends to be the rivet that gets the most wear, and of course that is the case over here. Originally they were kind of like a coated silvery looking color, and this one you can kind of see that kind of like brassy looking color underneath. We have the pocket here, a little bit of wear from a classic hand and pocket action, probably maybe some keys or the wallet could have been kept over there, because that's a classic like in and out, but only when the jeans are a little bit tight. So more on that later. A quick sneak peek on the back side over here. Original color is most visible here, where it's protected by a belt or a t-shirt here. So it's kind of like a nice darker blue over here. It is a these jeans are a right-hand twill, so I'll give you that. Patch looking in excellent condition. Like it is actually remarkably soft, so it probably wasn't like washed too hot, too hard, too many times. No belt placed over, so if there was a belt, it would have been underneath, I'm guessing. Not too much wear here on the back side, of course. I mean, it's starting to thin out a little bit. You'll get this with slightly thinner or lighter weight denim over time, of course equivalent time. They're not weak at all, but yeah, high spots. Bit of wear here, and right down the seam here, definitely a bit of wear, and starting to get a little bit thin in the seat. So they would have maybe needed a patch eventually. Back to the front over here, we have some classic examples of thigh whiskers here. So these jeans were worn fairly tight over here. You can see these whiskers coming along relatively like horizontal here. Very well defined. Classic sign of maybe like holding off the washing for the first 6 months or so to kind of really lock those fades in. So that's really cool to see. Moving down a little bit over here, whoa, we have a lovely little homemade repair right by the knee, or maybe a little bit above the knee. This kind of looks like a classic, like a knee bag, knee pocket over there. We have some, it looks like darning across here, but done in a really unique way. Like I'm not used to seeing like lots of individual darns like that. I think it looks pretty cool. I like that. I think that's neat. Run all the way down. We got some schmutz on there, not uncommon. Try to examine like the railway tracks. None really to speak of at all here. You can see the slightest like outline of where your selvage is kind of going under here on the outseam. Right down here by the hem, you can see several lines here. So we have some like stress lines here, some mini blowouts. This would have been where you had like a little bit of grit or a little bit of a stuff in there as you run a little bit of a cuff. So this was been definitely cuffed at least once, maybe twice over here. I'm just going to kind of cuff it off to show it off. And also to show off the selvage here. So it looks relatively dark, but not like a super dark indigo. It's kind of like a rich blue, single red line. It's a very, very classic selvage line, which kind of makes it a little bit harder to define. Chain stitch hem, you can see that with some nice roping. Looking very nice, not too much damage. They weren't running too low because it's not too not too worn in the back, although it's been worn a little bit. So maybe once or twice the cuff was left down, which is kind of what it feels like. If it was always cuffed, I would expect to see more damage. Right knee, fantastic. Again, if there's knee damage, it tends to be on one knee or the other, not both at the same time, depending on how old the jeans are. We have a little bit of some honeycombs reaching around from the backside, kind of coming in to say hello to the front of the knee. That's a neat little detail. Move down, not too much fading or wear on the lower part of the leg. Again, pretty normal because you're not usually rubbing that with your hands, or kind of like it's less tight, usually a little bit looser. No stack fades over here. Softer fabric. You're not really going to get much pushing up on this action over here. Again, little details there, a little bit of grit probably gotten there, and a slow little blowout. Nice roping again on the back over here. So, final detail, a little bit of the Exploderino here on the back side of the crotch. This could have been what had the customer decide to kind of throw in the towel and send it to us. Absolutely fixable there, especially if you start off smaller. Not impossible to stop it over here, but yeah, it could have been a little bit embarrassing, but you know, you can definitely see where there's wear along the crotch here. This was just like, you know, kind of bound to happen at this rate. A lot of like kind of rubbing in here, so not too unusual in jeans, especially after a long time. Tends to be a fact of life, unfortunately, but you know, if your sizing is just right, you can definitely eliminate that. So that's a rough overview of these jeans. I don't really know what they were. I kind of given some details, some hints. So if you guys are really familiar with our back catalog, let us know. Put your votes down in the comments. If you own these jeans, also let us know. Tell us your name, tell us your story. What happened? How did that hole get there? Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow for more videos just like this one. And that's it for now. Bye-bye.